Hello, and welcome to the Worlds of Heroic Adventure. I am Kaybe Angel, and I am a professional game master. I have just started a new project where we are building a big fantasy setting, running various simultaneous campaigns within this shared world. Something with the possibility of crossover events, connections between campaigns, larger, interwoven stories. I have done this once before with a different system, and that experiment was a big success, if I do say so myself. Though I did make some missteps, I've learned from them, and we are now going forward with this new setting, Terradraconum. As of this week, we've run the first sessions of 2 of our 3 campaigns, which we are starting set in this world. So what is this video? What is it you are watching? This is going to be my campaign diary. I'm going to tell you about these campaigns, the characters in them, what they're doing, what's happening in my world. Why am I doing this? A few reasons. 1, each campaign has a different set of players. They're all existing in the same shared world, but I hope some of them will be interested in seeing what is happening in the other parts of the setting. And 2, I think it'll be interesting. It's helpful for me to record what happens after each session regardless, and it'll be useful for me to be able to look back, but I hope also stories will be entertaining to you, whether you're playing in the setting or not. Also, if any of these campaigns do sound fun to you, there may still be empty seats that you can jump in and join. See my links in the description below. Now, let's begin with the first campaign. Ixion's Rest. We begin focusing on our first player character, Ivory, a catfolk and a princess from a strange jungle country far, far to the west of the known world. After having traveled for weeks through the deep woods west of the Ixion plains, she at last sees the blue sky, unhindered by the shade once again. This catfolk caravan, led by the merchant Obsidian, set down to rest for a bit, have some lunch, rest, and bask in the warm sunlight. Their plan, ultimately, is to head north to the Underwarren of Usrek, clan of Bunvolk, to make trade for supplies, and then to travel to the dwarven mountain home of Bul Tudur to purchase as much of their expertly crafted metalwork as they can carry or afford before returning home. This exotic and advanced metalwork is worth near any price back in their home country. While they rest, we cut to another location. An orc, mounted on his steed, carrying a massive crossbow, is stopped before a muddy hillside, where holes have been dug in the earth from below. This orc is not just any orc horse archer. This is Dawa, the undead slayer, and our second player character. Dawa examines the holes in the area around and discovers 2 things. 1, there was someone else here. They were on horseback, they dismounted, they performed some ritual, and the dead buried here dug their way out of their graves, and all of them marched south. Dawa begins to hunt his prey. Meanwhile, Ivory's caravan is enjoying food and catnip tea prepared by her bodyguard Jade, a massive and strong catman, and Malachite, a fierce middle-aged woman who served as Ivory's and her similarly aged sibling's nanny when she was a child, and now is more of an assistant. We cut to our third player character. A man in a white coat, white hat, mounted on a horse. His name, Blaine. He has some secret powers, which will be revealed in time. Blaine is accompanying a second caravan, this one made up entirely of humans, making their way from the east out of a town called Coppergate. Blaine was hired by the merchant Jedediah as a caravan guard. Jed is on his way to the festival of Ixion's Rest. though they have gotten somewhat off course. They ended up farther south than they're supposed to be, missing the plateau that they are supposed to be traveling towards. Both caravans see each other, and after careful approach, meet up, make friends, exchange cultural artifacts, and as the nature of the festival that they're trying to reach is explained to the catfolk, and they realize it isn't out of their way, they all agree to travel there together. Meanwhile, Dawa has been tracking the undead for 3 days. He's closed a lot of the distance. They seem to be meandering about. But he spots smoke on the horizon. Approaching, he finds a burnt camp. Bones of dead humanoids lay scattered about. The flesh stripped away. The long bones broken open, marrow sucked out. Their belongings piled in the center of camp and burnt. Ghouls, Dawa thinks. Exploring the area, Dawa pieces together the series of events which transpired. It was a night attack. One man was on watch, was taken by surprise. The others came out. They weren't ready. Killed one by one. One man, it seems, by virtue of just being on the far side of camp, managed to gather some things, mount a horse, escape. Everyone else and their animals butchered. Dawa wished the survivor luck, but continued following the ghoul's trail south. Fortunately, we're not chasing the man, but heading off elsewhere. He pursues, hoping to prevent the next tragedy. Ivory, Blaine, and their merchants travel north, ignorant to the danger, towards the plateau where the festival of Ixion's Rest would be held. Dawa, heading south, and knowing he's getting close to the ghouls, spots this caravan of foreigners and realizes they are going to be the ghouls' next meal come sundown. With just a few hours until dark, he gallops towards them. After dealing with the confusion caused by an armed orc charging them, Dawa explains the situation. The caravan circles their wagons, brings their animals and non-combatants to the center, prepare for a siege. After night falls, with the biggest fire they could manage burning in the center of their camp, they wait for the ghouls to approach. 4 undead orcs rush from the north. In the first few seconds, a ghoul leaps at and tears the throat out of one of the caravan guards, killing him instantly. Blaine transforms. Magical armor appears over him, and he starts blasting blades of wind and lightning at the ghouls. Dawa proves himself an expert sharpshooter with his crossbow. The fighting rages. A short while later, more ghouls arrive from another direction, trying to flank. Jade shoves one of the ghouls that dared threaten Princess Ivory into the campfire, where it is then killed with a team effort and left to burn. Eventually, as the last ghoul fell, another entity revealed itself. An undead orcish warrior astride a skeletal horse. The white rode into battle. He sang a dreadful dirge that would have frozen the hearts of all who hear it if not for the courage-bolstering speech of the princess. The skeletal horse proved difficult to injure with the javelins and crossbows of the caravan guards, and with a mighty kick it crushed the skull of one of the guards and knocked Blaine unconscious. The merchant cat Obsidian tried to sneak up behind the white as it was fighting with Dawa. Ivory sent healing magic to Blaine. The guards tried mostly in vain to slay the undead steed. The white dismounted after he was struck by Obsidian, slashing him to near death. Obsidian, his bravery spent, tried to retreat. "Don't watch. He's going to die," Jade said to Princess Ivory before the white chased down Obsidian and ran its sword through his back, draining his life force away. Through combined effort, the horse was brought down, but the white was a foe beyond anyone's skill to defeat alone, it tore through the last surviving catfolk guards and moved towards the center of camp. Jade blocked the way, standing between the white and ivory. He was no match. Strong and brave as he was, the white laid him low with a singular strike. As Jade lay dead, Malachite, no warrior, just a maid, grabbed a knife, screamed, and plunged it into the white, putting herself between the undead warrior and her pseudo-daughter, Ivory. It was nothing short of a miracle the white failed to kill her as she deflected the strike with a simple serving tray. In the end, a flurry of crossbow bolts from Dawa and the 2 human caravan guards from Coppergate fell the white. Ivory ran to the side of Jade. His wounds were deep and beyond simple healing magic. He was in many ways already dead. But Dawa ran over to help, and by the grace of the Titans, the 2 of them managed to bring him back from the brink. Though he would never fully recover from the grievous wound he was dealt. In the aftermath, Obsidian was dead. All 5 of the catfolk guards were dead. And Jade, though he lived, would never walk without a crutch ever again. Dawa explained the ghoul fever could have spread to some of the dead, and so their bodies must be burnt. Ivory said a few words over their bodies, and by the time the sun was rising, the bodies were burning. Next time, the party travels to Ixion's Rest. Thieves of Ashport. Our second campaign is the Thieves of Ashport. We open our story in the great city of Ashport, located where a river meets the Goshen Ocean. This wealthy city has been growing fast. Its king and council have imperialist ambitions. But all that is far above the concerns of our protagonists. Poor men, desperate for coin and a life greater than that of a dockhand or a fisherman. These 3 men, their ambitions and skill known, are contacted separately by a man named Mr. Lester Ruth, and told to meet him at a seedy tavern in Fishmark called the Salty Clam. As we peer over the clam, the first of our player characters arrives. A flamboyantly dressed man, with a mask and a fine rapier on his belt, flanked by a life-size animated porcelain doll and a green heron, the same bird which is on the heraldry of the king's royal line. The man bursts into the bar with a voice louder than life and sparkling. He seizes the crowd's attention and plays an unplanned show to make himself known. The doll sits idle at the table and watches. The audience is enraptured by the bard and pays no mind to the domestic doll. In Ashport, such puppets are relatively new technology, but most of the wonder has worn off of them by now. In fact, the barmaid serving them drinks is another doll, albeit a cheaper and less aesthetically pleasing model, called a puppet porter. While the bard entertains, someone else unusual enters. A particularly big bunny, a bunvolk, very tall for one, in leather armor and covered in weapons. He looks nervous as he approaches the bar and places an order. The bard interrupts his performance, strides over and chats with the awkward bunvolk. This bunvolk. His name is Jack. He has his own reasons for being here, which we'll get to later. Lastly, a third unusual man. Almost as wide as the doorway, with subtle orcish features, but dressed only in commoner's clothes, enters in. This man, Wegton, or is it Vegton? He answers to both, scans the bar, and sees Jack, clearly an adventurer, and so probably who he is meant to meet. The 3 men talk at the bar, order food. Eventually the bard, who is just going by Al, asks the bartender if he knows about any jobs. The bartender silently points him towards the door at the back of the tavern. After some confusion, eventually the 3 men and the domestic doll are let into a meeting room where Mr. Lester Ruth is waiting. Lester informs the gathered men that his organization has been hired to acquire a certain item, and they are looking to subcontract the work to our Thieves of Ashport. He explains that they are offering 250 gold for the item delivered, and an additional 200 gold bonus if they don't seriously injure anyone in the process. But that they may risk offending the Church of the Cerulean Sky. The party discusses and agrees to take the job. The details are revealed. They are to steal the fingerbone of Saint Orissa from the cathedral in the Cerulean Circle in North River. Lester volunteers no information on who is hiring them, and the thieves do not ask. He does, however, provide them with a map of the cathedral. The location where the saint's fingerbone is stored is marked. They set about making some preparations, and then, after nightfall, approach the cathedral. Seeing the blue cloaks, city-funded watchmen guarding the entrances, Al hatches a plan. He asks the doll to disguise him as a new blue cloak. Much to the likely surprise of Wegden and Jack, the doll proceeds to cast an illusion over Al, disguising his face and his dress. This is not something a puppet porter, a soulless automaton, only meant for menial labor, should be able to do. But they are, in fact, our fourth player character, and a wizard, going by the name only of the Librarian. But no time to question that. The spell only lasts an hour, and Al is already marching off to the guard by the southern door. Al introduces himself as Wheeler, a fake name, and tells the Blue Cloak that it's his first night shift. Blowing all of his deception checks out of the water, Al's new friend Bobby introduces him to John, Paul, and George. George is a dog. Along the front of the cathedral, giving the rest of the team an opportunity to pick the lock on the southern door and get inside. Inside the cathedral, all the torches and candles were out. It's near pitch black, but Jack with his eye shine and Wagden with his orcish eyes could still see a little bit. Jack leads the way, while Wagden holds the doll's hand, leading the blind doll forward. Jack picks a lock. The three of them enter into the side room where the relic is supposed to be housed. Once inside the side room, the door is closed. Wagden lit a lantern, which glowed with a slightly unearthly, supernatural light. The relic was here, behind the glass case. Two similar cases held other treasures. One, a suite of illustrated manuscripts, and one, assorted jewelry, including an elegant dawn-silvered crown. Each case was locked with a poor quality lock, not a lot of point in investing in a fancy lock when the glass could be easily shattered by any would-be thieves. But Wegden examines the area with the enchanted light, and determines that there is a permanent protective spell inside each one of these cases. Deciding it was probably an alarm spell, although not knowing for sure, they carefully removed each lock one by one. Meanwhile, Al, outside, still entertaining the guards, or distracting them rather, pulls the guards into a quick game of cards. Get to know each other and keep the distraction going as long as you could. With the locks open, Jack then carefully tries to remove the treasures one by one without setting off the alarm. They were correct, it was an alarm spell. In Pathfinder, an alarm spell allows you to, if you are aware that the spell is present, you can attempt a stealth check to not trigger it. Jack goes to get the crown first. In their estimation, it was worth more than they were being paid for this job, so they decided to prioritize it. He manages to get it out of the case without triggering the protective spell. Next is the relic, the fingerbone of Saint Orissa, easily acquired as well. They could have left right then. They have a fortune in treasure between their pay for the relic and the crown that they have already stolen. But as they look over the books in the third case, Jack sees that one is labeled as an original manuscript penned by Saint Orissa. An original copy would surely sell for a lot to one of the faithful, or a wealthy collector. Doesn't matter to Jack. Jack went back to the well one more time. This time, his greed had pushed his luck too far. The alarm sounded. The church bell rang, awakening the sleeping priests and the acolytes, putting the blue cloaks and their vicious attack dogs on high alert. Wegton doused his magic light with a thought. "I can't see," said it all. Al, thinking quickly, snatches the keys from one of the guards he's playing cards with, and blocks the front door with his body as he fumbles with the key, buying the other thieves a round or two. Langton throws the doll over his shoulder and follows Jack toward the door. Al bluffs and says he hears the intruders heading towards the garden, sending Bobby, John, Paul, and George running the wrong way. The thieves regroup south of the cathedral, all according to plan, and sprint for Central Park. At this point, I transitioned us into a skill challenge, made more difficult since the alarm had awoken Father Michael, a high-level war priest who takes charge of the situation. Well, I say high-level. Higher level than them, at least. I tell them that they are going to need to get 6 successes before 3 failures to escape. There will be an encounter with the Blue Cloaks after the skill challenge, the difficulty of which will depend on the number of failures accumulated. If they get 3 failures, it will be an extreme difficulty encounter. But, despite this higher DC from having awoken the priest, they crush the skill challenge. Using a grease spell, a glue bomb, and some simple stealth and trickery, they escape with record speed, and find their way blocked by only 2 Blue Cloaks. A low difficulty encounter. Wegton charges the Blue Cloaks. They try and shoot him dead with crossbows, but after failing to drop him, they switch to their nightsticks. Al belittles them, casts non-lethal mental spells. One of the guards delivers a devastating blow to Wegton's head. Jack flanks one of the Blue Cloaks, tries to knock him out with his monkey fist, but doesn't quite manage it. But then, without the doll seemingly to do anything at all, a cloud passes over both the Blue Cloaks and Wegton, and all 3 fall asleep standing up. They shake Wegton awake and escape into the night, leaving the dozing Blue Cloaks more or less unharmed. The thieves escape into the city and disappear into Outtown. Jack leads them to a small clinic in Outtown where they can lie low. There, the Dr. Jack, treats the concussed Wegton, and everyone is able to rest. There is a discussion on what to do with the other treasures that have been stolen. The librarian, for that is the only name the doll gives, points out that Lester Ruth works for the Dawn Syndicate, and it's his job to know people. He could probably fence the treasures for them. After a couple days laying low at Jack's clinic, the thieves arrange a meeting again with Mr. Ruth, and complete their mission. Ruth pays them the 450 golden pieces of gold agreed upon, and after some negotiations, gives them 25% of the fair value of the crown and the manuscript, which is more than he wanted to pay. Now, richer than they have any right to be, the thieves have their own business to take care of. Until next time. The Kraken's Lonely Mistress. As of the time of writing and recording this first campaign diary, we've only had session 0 of this campaign, so you'll have to tune in next week for our recap of session 1 of this one. But I can go ahead and introduce our party and the setting. This campaign takes place in the towns and villages around the Blue Bay. The Bay is a week's ride north of the city of Ashport, the setting of our previous campaign. Mysterious occult forces are at work in the Bay. Haunting music plays from the Elfwood. The previously friendly rockfolk in the mountains have been standoffish and unwelcoming. People are acting strange, different, personalities changing. In this time of uncertain troubles, 2 locals, a hill dwarf, Ariel Bronzebottom, gifted in the arts of shaping earth and mud, follows along her curious Bunvolk friend named Pending as she sets out to solve the mysteries of this place. They will, in our session 1 later this week, meet up with Zafi, a half-elf, angel blood sorcerer with connections on his mother's side to church history, and with an unknown elven father, and Anora Ward, a champion of the Church of the Cerulean Sky, as they all meet in the town of Dog's Breath, in the southern portion of the bay. There, they will meet the old man from the Barrow. But for that tale, you'll have to tune in next week. Thank you for listening. Hit the like and subscribe buttons below to let me know that you want to keep hearing about these adventures. And if you want to join any of these campaigns or other games I may be running in the future, if you're seeing this a long time after it's been posted, check out the links to my Start Playing page in the description of this video. You can also see on this same channel some recorded and edited actual plays of my other campaigns. Tales of Principles for a JRPG-inspired campaign, and The Legend of Zelda: Cycles of Power for adventuring in the land of Hyrule 100 years after the defeat of Calamity Ganon. Go watch one of those, and have a good one.